All right, so welcome to another one for Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. So let's get with it. Let's talk some boxing. So the last 48 hours have been a whirlwind of I guess circus jokes, if you want to call it that. But I was never big on that whole. Or I didn't believe in the whole Jake Paul scenario, just because in politics in general, you'll have opposing forces like throw out news and gossips to kind of trick fans, or I guess the people on what side to choose, right? So again, remember that Canelo Alvarez and Crawford, Ring Magazine had said that they were gonna do that fight in September, and then about a day later, we get news about Canelo fighting Jake Paul in May, right? So first of all, May and September, two opposing dates, and you would think, well, why would a May date affect a Riyadh season date, right? With Crawford for September, right? Because it'd be two different promotional groups. Nothing was said that Riyadh season had any involvement with the Jake Paul fight, right? So we know automatically that the Jake Paul news was an opposing force. And what force was that, right? We had guys like Dan Raphael, who was pro PBC, stating that, that the news on the other side wasn't real and vice versa. So you got all these channels talking about gossip and who do we believe, right? So what we do know is that I'm more than sure, because Canelo Alvarez, his management, they do work with All Heyman, so we know they're trying to fish out what's the best offer for Canelo Alvarez, right? We know that Eddie Hearn said that Canelo, he goes for the best offers, that he's not, quote, loyal to either side. So what does that mean? It's been a bidding war in the last month, or if you want to say the last 48 hours, right? At the threshold of bidding wars between Canelo Alvarez. If can he stay on the American side of the market? American side meaning PBC, Amazon Prime, and Al Heyman, right? So again, where was all this Jake Paul news coming from, right? Who would have brokered that deal? Now here's what we do know. That Al Heyman's track record, having done big fights like Mayweather versus Pacquiao, Mayweather, who gained a purse of $200 million, Pacquiao earned somewhere like $120 million back when Showtime was thriving, and they did a co-promotion with HBO, right? And then Heyman has a track record of doing Mayweather versus McGregor, and then after that spectacle, we had Mayweather versus Logan Paul. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that Al Heyman has a proven track record. Excuse me, he has a history of making big fights if he can. The problem is that now there is no more Showtime boxing. We know that Amazon Prime, they're still a bit new, right? They only have about a year in boxing, so it's a bit premature for general fans to believe that the PBC could get money, or I guess combat what Turkey Al Sheikh's money is all about, right? Or what the Riyadh season money is all about. We know that because Turkey Al Sheikh did purses for Tyson Fury and Usyk times two, right? We had two fights, and ESPN was doing publications per the source of Bob Arum. Well, Bob Arum said, and ESPN published it, that Tyson Fury was going to get purses of 120 million to fight Usyk, right? So let's just say combining those two fights, it was about like a $260 million purse guarantee for those fighters on the Riyadh season. Okay, and so how does the PBC combat that, right? How do they match that offer? The only way to even entice a competitive offer to what Riyadh season is doing, right, is to make a spectacle, and that's to use Jake Paul. I didn't find the Jake Paul news real, because even Jake Paul had tweeted stuff like that he's the A side in any situation. So that automatically knows that that fight even can't materialize between Jake Paul and Canelo. And even Canelo hasn't acknowledged Jake Paul. So we know that, the PBC side of the world, they were really trying to get the public, perhaps get Canelo to have more interest in perhaps staying on the American market and making a Jake Paul fight, right? Because Jake Paul did a fight with Netflix and Mike Tyson, so even that is separate from the Zone and Amazon Prime. So it was all this complications, and I just didn't see any progression in the whole Jake Paul false news, if you will. Hopefully, Canelo Alvarez, his team or management, they can give more details about that spectacle event. I would imagine if Canelo Alvarez were to fight Jake Paul, that would have been like at the end of his career, anyways, right? So, anyways, we know those are the reasons why the Jake Paul fight wasn't a realistic thing. Okay, now more down to the nitty gritty. Canelo Alvarez, 4 fights agreed upon. The first fight starting in May of this year, guys, that's not that far away, is going to be in Riyadh. That's crazy, guys. That means Canelo has now acknowledged. Well, Canelo has acknowledged to fight in the UK, and he's also acknowledged to fight in Japan, right? He said something like that, interests. And I believe just recently, Turkey Al Sheikh, he posted that it's May Riyadh, Canelo Crawford in September. It doesn't say Riyadh, and then fights in 2026, May and September are in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I don't know if it's Riyadh, but it just says Saudi Arabia. There might be some other cities that might host it. But with that being said, if sources are saying that Canelo and Paul could do like about 100 million, well, obviously Turkey, the guy with the unlimited funds, he's probably giving Canelo, let's say a general offer that he's probably gonna make more than 250 million in this 4 fight deal. I'm more than sure. Who knows what the numbers are gonna be, but guys, I'll say it again. I keep saying it. Turkey Al Sheikh is he's not an idiot. All right, I'm more than sure the guy knows business in general. But as far as pay grades, as far as pay-per-view meritocracy, pay-per-view accomplishments, Canelo Alvarez has more accomplishments in the boxing economics in general than Tyson Fury and Usyk combined. Okay, so what does that mean? Whatever you're paying Tyson Fury or Usyk in their pay grades on the Riyadh season, then obviously you're gonna pay Canelo Alvarez more. Does it make sense? Isn't that logical, right? There's no other way around this way to see that. Okay, so what does that mean? That Canelo is going to be making some big bags, right? And now think about it like this: if Canelo is sacrificing his Vegas dates, at least one, if he's sacrificing a Vegas location, or let's just say sacrificing American continent locations, that means that Turkey is really going to give Canelo Alvarez big purses to fight out of his comfort zone in Saudi Arabia. So I'm more than sure, more than likely, if he's giving Tyson Fury 100 million to fight in Saudi Arabia, he's probably going to give Canelo, and I think I said 270 or 260, it's probably more than that. He's going to give Canelo 100 million per fight if he decides to really fight in Saudi Arabia. Would you guys agree? If he gave Tyson Fury that much to fight in Saudi Arabia, and we know as fans, Turkey knows that Canelo Alvarez's value, his worth, is worth more than Tyson Fury, then obviously he's going to give Canelo Alvarez more money. Guys, that's an excess of 400 million. Or as other channels are saying, 500 million. There's literally channels out there that are saying 500 million. So it kind of makes sense, right? It's not that hard to get the numbers together. And then there's going to be pay-per-view upside, right? So aside from the guarantees, guys, aside from those guarantees, Canelo Alvarez sells pay-per-view. Or let's say Canelo Alvarez will at least continue selling his 600K or 700K pay-per-view in the Western territory of what, $80 or $90. Hopefully we get the fights we want to see. Now here's the second kicker, right? Turkey Al Sheikh said, if you fight on the Riyadh season, we don't make easy fights. That's per Turkey Al Sheikh. He said that himself. Turkey Al Sheikh said, I don't want to make easy fights. I want to make competitive fights. That the fans want to see. So one, we got Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. A lot of fans are downplaying Crawford. A lot of fans are upgrading Crawford and saying that Crawford will be more competitive than Jermell Charlo, right? So those kind of like single out, they balance out, whatever. The fight is there. Guys like Teddy Atlas, others like maybe Timothy Bradley. A lot of professionals are actually they're giving Crawford a shot to beat Canelo Alvarez. So that acknowledgement alone would suggest that Canelo versus Crawford is a fair fight. Otherwise, it's a contradiction, right? We got to be honest to ourselves. If it was a complete mismatch, fans wouldn't acknowledge it to begin with. As a matter of fact, why would Crawford even want that fight if it wasn't a realistic perspective? And of course, we know that Sugar Ray Leonard, when he went up to fight the light heavyweight champion Donnie Lalonde, they made that into that was the introduction of the super middleweight belt, right? 168 pounds. And that's what they met at. That was the catch weight back then for the super middleweight titles and the light heavyweight title that Lalonde had, or that he was defending. At least one belt at light heavyweight. So guys, Sugar Ray Leonard moved up, Duran moved up, Hearns moved up. These fights can be made, right? They're realistic, is what I'm trying to get at. So now, guys, the bigger question, because Turki Al-Sheikh had said, if Canelo Alvarez were smart, right? He literally said that if he were smart, he would take the offers that I'm giving him. In other words, if you're smart working with me, then it's good business. You can rephrase it different ways, but that's pretty much what Turki Al-Sheikh is saying. And so therefore, Canelo was asked questions about fighting Crawford. Canelo also said 150 million, and I'll fight him, no worries. I don't know, maybe did that influence Turki Al-Sheikh to make the fight? Did it influence Crawford to beg Turki to make the fight? And with that being said, can the mega millions, the metrics, the star power, the ratings, if they're good on the Riyadh season, the first year, for May and September, if they are really, really good metrics, will Turki Al-Sheikh offer Al Haymon, Benavidez, a mega fight for 2026? Right? That's the big question. Because if money isn't a problem, if Turki Al-Sheikh is happy, if Turki Al-Sheikh forgets or rubs off what Canelo said about give me the 150 or 200 million to fight Benavidez and I'll do it, will Turki Al-Sheikh be enticed to make that fight? All right. And the second kicker, we know that unfortunately because PBC now lost business with Canelo Alvarez, all right, they only have Tank Davis and Benavidez at this point. They don't have Canelo anymore. So will Al Haymon gamble on the PBC brand to send Benavidez over to Riyadh or Saudi Arabia for any offer that Turki Al-Sheikh gives? Right? Remember, Benavidez, out of his own mouth, he said he would fight Canelo for $5 million, right? So right now, Turki Al-Sheikh, Riyadh season, they have the luxury to offer Team Benavidez, a fight for Canelo Alvarez or for whoever. All right. Now, guys, Beterbiev, Bivol, Canelo, Terence Crawford, they're all aligned and affiliated with Riyadh season. Let me repeat that. Beterbiev, Bivol, Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford are all aligned with Saudi Arabian sports washing, aka Riyadh season, with the Don Turki Al-Sheikh. Will David Benavidez acknowledge this now? All right, I've been saying before, and forgive me for, I've always been a PBC fan, but it makes more sense for us to get the best fights. And I don't want to say I want PBC to go out of business. Of course, I'm not saying that, but if PBC really does shut down its doors in 2025, if let's say Amazon Prime has no more interest, or who knows, and Gervonta Davis is not happy, will Tank Davis and Benavidez acknowledge maybe fighting under the Riyadh season banner? Isn't that good for boxing? We get the better fights. I'm skeptical now that there's only Tank Davis and Benavidez, right? Given the history of Haymon protecting Wilder's investment or value, right? Because we know that Wilder didn't accept $100 million offers to fight over at the Zone for the Anthony Joshua. So if PBC really wants to stay in the game, they kind of have to. I don't know if they can accept offers from Turki Al-Sheikh, but why not, right? There's guys that are joking about Al Haymon's health, which is not cool, man. But I don't know. PBC Al Haymon is the last one standing that's not involved heavily in the Saudi Arabian sports washing. So you guys let me know in your opinions, man. If you're really down about the what's going on in boxing, let me know what your comments and opinions. Do you think that PBC should be more open objectively to any type of Riyadh season business under any types of circumstances, right? Because remember that the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol in this rematch, right? Well, I should say it the other way around. I'm sorry. Benavidez, now the WBC interim champion, right? He has dibs, or he has the luxury of getting the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. Okay, so let's say if Beterbiev does beat Bivol, right? That's already 2-0 for Beterbiev. That means let's see if David Benavidez will really want that fight with Beterbiev. I'm sure he does want the fight, but would Al Heyman let him get that fight? Does Al Heyman now? If Benavidez were to lose to Beterbiev, let's say unfortunately by KO, by stoppage, that disrupt the PBC brand, right? Because now David Benavidez lost. Where does David Benavidez go from there if he loses to Artur Beterbiev, or let's say even Dimitri Bivol? All right, so this is kind of like a bad point in boxing because I still want the Canelo versus Benavidez bout. I think Canelo wanting his the high 9-figure paydays for a Benavidez fight was real because Tyson Fury got it right, and I'm sure he'll fight Benavidez for that amount. And so the ball is now on the PBC court in what offers will they accept from Turki Al-Sheikh to fight. I mean, just on the Riyadh season card. Now, remember, David Benavidez said he would only fight in Las Vegas, or just pretty much, I guess, insinuating or still knocking down the zone. I know that David Benavidez wants to fight Zurdo Ramirez. That's another great fight. That's a really good fight, actually. But again, Zurdo Ramirez's golden boy, they're aligned with the zone. Man, the walls are closing in on the PBC now that they lost Canelo Alvarez business, you know? I'm just very curious what Samson Lukowitz is going to say, what Jose Benavidez Sr. is going to say. Guys, they lost Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is no longer PBC. Now, here's the last thing I'll say about this. We do know that Benavidez still consistently talks about Canelo Alvarez. As a matter of fact, industry or American boxing still talks about David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez. So what does that mean now? That means any point now in the future, whenever we talk about Benavidez or Canelo, that puts pressure on Riyadh season to counter-respond to those type of themes, right? So will Benavidez still talk about Canelo Alvarez, right? If he talks about Canelo Alvarez, then that means they're acknowledging a potential offer from Turki Al-Sheikh. Now, let's say Turki Al-Sheikh does offer David Benavidez something, right? A fight with Canelo Alvarez, or let's say the guy's in Beterbiev and Bivol, and David Benavidez doesn't take it. You see how awkward that might seem? That's what I'm insinuating, that maybe Al Heyman might not want to make those fights happen now because Al Heyman no longer has Canelo Alvarez. So the narratives and the themes kind of change. So that's what I got on it, guys. That I think it's I guess you can call it a shame. It's unfortunate, but guys, Canelo Alvarez is not fighting on American soil anymore. He's actually sacrificed. He's given up the sales gate revenues in the States, and so that would mean that the only way you want to sacrifice and acknowledge that type of offer would be that Turki Al-Sheikh is giving Canelo big mega paydays to fight outside of America. And I strongly believe they're probably 75, 75, 75, 75 at the very least. Perhaps even more, depending on who he's fighting, right? So what does that mean? 75 times 4, that's about what? 300 million right there. And that's without the pay-per-view upside. That's pretty good, guys. $300 million guarantee for 4 fights under the Riyadh season banner. That's not including pay-per-view upside. Because forget the Riyadh season sales gate. I'm not sure if a lot of fans are going to travel for that. It's actually pretty good. It actually, we will see how many fans travel for Canelo Alvarez over at Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Because I was skeptical at first. I even said, what fans want to travel to Saudi Arabia, right? Because you can't drink alcohol. You want to kind of drink some. You want to drink up before you go to a fight. That's American boxing culture. That's British boxing culture. And again, it's illegal to drink alcohol in Saudi Arabia. That's awkward, right? That's weird, guys. The only guys that got dips to drink alcohol in Saudi Arabia are the how would you call it? The what do you say? The politicians, the diplomats. Only particular diplomats have that license to buy alcohol at certain stores in Saudi Arabia. So it's interesting, guys. But let me know what you guys think. Are you guys cool that Canelo Alvarez signed this 4-fight mega deal now with the Saudi Arabians, man? It's really weird, but I'm glad that whole stupid Jake Paul fake news, I guess, didn't materialize. I don't even know how you approach this, man. If you're a Canelo fan, you're an anti-Canelo fan, if you're for Turki Al-Sheikh, if you're against Turki Al-Sheikh, if you're for Al Heyman, if you're against Al Heyman, what does all that mean now? Now that it's a Saudi Arabian and a Mexican doing business in the world of boxing, man. So that's what I got on this, guys. Catch me on the next one for another article or another episode on Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.